and welcome to another episode of Focus On with me, Keamogetso Mosepele. The demand for critical minerals is on the rise as the world transitions to the use of cleaner energy sources. According to the International Energy Agency, the demand for these minerals could increase sixfold by the year 2050. We are in Cape Town at the Critical Minerals Africa Summit, where we speak to key players who are involved in charting a path towards mineral success in Africa. I want you to touch on the industry you're involved in, advanced manufacturing. You're in a niche market where you manufacture cavity-free plugs. Just walk us through some of the technicalities behind that and the industries you supply.
Yeah, we are manufacturing in South Africa for Southern Africa cavity-free plug valve. Cavity-free means that within the construction of that valve there is no area where the media which is going through the valve can sit and reside. So it helps a lot in food industry. There's nothing which can rotten, or inside the mining business there is no area where material can settle and block the valve.
In your opinion, what is the opportunity, the critical minerals opportunity for Africa?
Yeah, critical minerals, I mean, it's a hot topic all over the world, and the music plays in Africa for that critical minerals. There's a reason why all the big chaps are here in Africa and busy mining, because the demand is huge. So, and for us in particular, we serve the mining industry, not only but also energy production. So we have a very wide range of industrial applications for our valves. I say we are for the 3D applications, dirty, difficult and dangerous.
And in your opinion, how does the African market fare in comparison to other markets that you operate in?
It's a developing market on one side in terms of size, but on the other side it's also a mature market because the technology which is applied is well known globally.
And you say it's developing. I want you to let me know what can be done to change that narrative from it being a developing market to a more developed market. What are some of the policy interventions or support that is needed for yourself in that space to grow?
I'll give you one example for South Africa. If we look on the total amount of valves and accessories in South Africa, 80% is import. Although there is a developed community of manufacturers, not only us but also colleagues in that space, and we ask ourselves, why is that? There is somebody locally to be able to supply, and still people are importing. That doesn't make sense in terms of employment. We all need jobs. So yeah, that is a mindset change.
And what I appreciate about the positioning of your South Africa pond, as we've mentioned, you also are a gateway to sub-Saharan Africa, and that is so important. Then within that space, and as it can expand to more places in Africa, what needs to be done to increase investment and financing to achieve that objective?
Investors always like security, stability in the political space, stability in the working environment space. We have a lack of skilled people in Africa, not only South Africa but Africa general. So that makes it difficult for investors and companies who want to invest in Africa to get their business going. So it's a huge problem, and without that, the people cannot operate properly. So we need a combination of making it easier for companies to bring in the experts and have the experts train the local people. So that is very important, so that on a long run, the local people can take over.
And additionally, summits like this, you meet other industry players. What is the importance of sharing ideas as well as some of the challenges that you're facing within summits like this?
Yeah, networking events like that is important for us because as a business we need brand awareness. So people must know that we are there, that we are local, and that we have the solutions what they need for their companies. And I find in the discussions with many other players, they have the same problem. Access to, let's say, the decision makers of chambers of mines, chambers of commerce. That is very important for us to grow our network and have the possibility to talk to the people which are relevant in the different countries.
And also going forward, what is your outlook in terms of advancing or advanced manufacturing for Africa?
Yeah, it is a very nice and shiny bubble. However, we need to make sure that we are not falling on our face because we are making the second or third step before the first. So in particular, we are struggling to get our raw materials, means advanced casting bodies and stuff locally in Africa. So we also need to import, not that I would like to, but there is not the skills and the technical expertise within Africa or Southern Africa. So that makes it difficult for us. So we need to have the basis to be able to do advanced manufacturing.
Within the context of Angola, which currently is more oil reliant,
Yeah.
or rather say reliant than dependent, in its efforts to be on par with its global peers and diversify its economy, in your opinion, is that happening? Is that happening fast enough?
Yeah, I mean, there's a great, in terms of a policy perspective, in terms of government drive, ministerial, talking about the Ministry of Energy and Natural Resources in Angola, you are seeing a great shift. You're seeing actually the National Oil Company opening a new section into critical minerals, looking at your battery metals and your critical minerals, and interesting projects actually popping up in Angola. I think there's a project for rare earth metals in the center of the country actually, which is about a 2 to 3 kilometer distance from the Lobito corridor, which is talked about a lot these days. So yeah, there is a great shift, and a great, not just shift in terms of policy as I mentioned, but also in terms of mentality, that people are looking to other avenues, entrepreneurs and even the service sector. Yeah.
And I also just want to draw a parallel between the two opportunities for investment that you are responsible also for sourcing into the country.
Yep.
What is the trend looking like, and what is the demand picture in terms of investment interests into the country?
Yeah, I mean, so what people are starting to realize is that Angola is starting to open up for business, or it's open for business. There's, in terms of on a company level, not just on a mineral or critical mineral level, Angola 5 or 6 years ago took the policy of not necessarily having the need of having a local partner. So that kind of takes the hat off of the topic around, for example, corruption, and having to have someone that is politically affiliated to kind of open doors for you and everything. So people go, merit starts becoming part of the talking point, and it's about competence now rather than being affiliated to X, Y, and Z to kind of open doors. So there's a very positive, that's the kind of positive note that I can highlight, and that opens now. In terms of investments into critical minerals, there's a lot of investment done. I mean, the UK, for example, is the biggest investor in Angola via financial sector, and also the biggest investment done via BP, over $30 million in the past few years in the oil sector. So, and obviously these companies are also starting to look into the solar producing side, the energy side, more the clean energy side of things, and sustainability. And obviously critical minerals is a heart, and that's one of the reasons that we're here, to kind of highlight the potential that Angola has, because we've got neighboring countries such as Congo and Zambia with the copper belts, which geologically it's proven that crosses over and does kind of a loop back into Angola. And you're seeing big companies such as Ivanhoe, Anglo American, Rio Tinto really now starting their operations, and probably starting with drilling programs even as of next year, 2025.
I want to circle back to your point for the need of good governance.
Yep.
From an operational perspective, when you're sourcing these investment opportunities for Angola, what are some of the policy shifts that are needed to facilitate this mandate?
Yeah, I mean, talking about critical minerals, there's some reviews being done around the the mining laws, the mining code. So that's being done right now. As I mentioned, also when I said Angola is open for business, the ministry itself has actually created two entities. One that regulates it, and I've got another one that has a geological database, which is actually available to private companies. So if you have an interest to go and mine rare earth metals, you can actually access that national database at a certain, quite fairly low cost, and start tapping and trying to see which area will be of your interest, and then you can start applying for licenses going through that process. So yeah.
What is the risk premium that Africa is often associated with? What is the risk environment when sourcing opportunities for investment? And additionally, how important is regional integration, regional trade integration in terms of easing investment into the country?
Yeah, so risk, we see Angola, I think the biggest risk in Angola right now is FX, because we're a country that our export balance is not great in that sense. And I think, and these things will only change with these initiatives, right? So much more export that we get. Angola is trying to diversify a lot, go into agriculture also, and trying, because it's got great potential. I think in terms of hydric resources is the second largest potential. So energy, Angola has actually got a surplus of energy. So the risks are more infrastructure-wise, financially wise. Angola has just gone into the grey list for the US dollar. I mean, that's not great news, but people are still trading for other avenues via the euro and rather than the US dollar. But risk factor-wise, also politically, I think Angola is very de-risked now because a lot of clamp down on corruption and stuff like that. Yeah, so these are in terms of a risk factor. That would be my point. There's, in terms of infrastructure, Angola is very vested into improving its infrastructure overall. It's a very safe country. I think is one of the countries that's been contributing a lot to the peace, stability in the region, and we don't get many things that we're seeing in the neighboring countries. We don't have necessarily, Angola is not an alert for any kind of military intervention internally or from a foreign perspective, and there's no kind of extremist uprisings of any sort. So Angola is safe in that perspective, and politically stable, let's call it that.
And that's how we wrap up another episode of Focus On in Cape Town at the Critical Minerals Africa Summit. From me, Gamkhatsa Mosipile, and the rest of the CNBC Africa team, it's goodbye for now.